Hello everyone, my name is SurrealBeliefs and welcome to Mountain Blade Bannerlord as a speculative video about what they'll be including into the game based on their new information presented in PC Gamer. I'm going to talk about what 6 major factions that we have, and I'll go over some of the things that will be covered in the PC Gamer article. First off, you have the Calratic Empire, a diminished once-dominant empire, now locked in a 3-way civil war. They specialize in armored cataphracts and skilled archers. And to let you know, in the backdrop, I'll have the new screenshots popping up so that you can look at each one and you can see who they are. Then you have Vlandians, and they're raiders of the Empire's western coast. They now have their own kingdom on Imperial land, and they specialize in knights wielding swords and lances. Then you have Sturgians, natives of northern forests and traders and adventurers from the far north. They specialize in infantry fighters and shield wall formations, which you'll definitely see in one of the battles here where you have a gigantic charge against them. Then you have the Azurai, desert people who farm at oasis springs and the shores of the Great Southern Lake. They specialize in fast-moving medium cav with spears. Then you have Battanians, inhabitants of northwestern Calradia, holed up in the mountains after Imperial expansion. They specialize in forest warfare and the use of longbows. Then finally, you have the Khuzaites, which I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, spelled Khuzaites. And they were swept out of the eastern steppes and seized a chain of frontier trading city-states for themselves, and they specialize in deadly fast-moving horse archers. And these are the 6 diverse factions that will later become kingdoms of the future game of the setting of Mountain Blade. But here we're at their origins, being able to find out who they once were and what they will later be. And they all have their unique manner of fighting. They all have their unique armor, their own aesthetic, cultures, and things like that. Like for me, I think I'll really enjoy the forest warfare of the Battanians, who have that rugged type of hunter look. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. Forest warfare and the use of longbows really appeals to me. Then for a few of the new gameplay additions, they've definitely changed up how traits and skills and all of that works in Bannerlord. It really builds upon what they had in Warband. Each skill will have its own kind of XP category and is really leveled up individually. Like to level up tracking, for example. If you found older tracks, you would have an easier time leveling up that particular skill, and that's how it'll go down. So everything's going to be a lot more fleshed out. We're really going to have a living, breathing, thriving world with a lot of unique elements to it that you can interact with. And they've really made sure that the NPCs are not just a backdrop, not just a brief thing to interact with. They're going to be a core part of the game in how you actually make your home and how you build your alliances and build your own army, or even benefit financially too. Not only do you have your major factions all with their own goals and individual wants, you have NPCs, and depending on who you try to align yourself with, you'll be able to have new benefits. Let's say you ally with a trader, you're clearly going to have benefits in trading, or even a gang leader where then he'll be able to let you perform special operations. And so depending on who you ally with and who you befriend, you'll have those new advantages at your own behest in the game. So it's not just about building with the factions, but the people that you meet too. It's all about picking a side, because again, we're in a very factional time period where things are really about to hit the fan. Then, of course, you can have your companion allies follow you into town, and they're always very powerful, and they have their unique traits and things like that. They're more expensive to hire than regular soldiers, but here they can join you for issues in a town, for example. Like if you were to have smugglers reveal that they are friends with a local syndicate, and you could either switch sides or fight them, and if you do fight them, well, you know what's going to happen there. So quests are going to be a lot more involved in towns, where it's just not just about, hey, I'm gonna find that guy, kill him, I'm gonna go teach a few guys how to fight. So in a sandbox game here, you're gonna have a lot of other set templates too for quests, and they're gonna be generated a little bit like in Skyrim, which is gonna be pretty interesting, where you're gonna be able to have a continual amount of quests. Then according to the article, they still have their tournaments, and each faction will have the same equipment. Like in the first round, you'll have 2 fighters fighting another 2, and as I said, they'll have the same equipment too. That way it's more of an equal fight depending on your skills and your own capability to see it through. And of course, the AI is made much better in Bannerlord. At times, they'll go to a higher ground for a better defensive position. At times, they will attack you. So, I mean, there's not really yet a unit cap for battles. So right now, it's possible to have hundreds of soldiers on each side. But, I mean, there's going to be a lot. I'm sure that is really a major theme of like what people want to see is a lot of soldiers on the battle, but there is no actual conclusive cap yet that they have decided on. I'm sure as we get closer to it and they know what performance will be like, that we'll have a set cap and we'll be able to know how many soldiers that we're going to have on the battlefield. And that is generally what we have for the information in regards to the PC Gamer article. There is a bit more and you'll be able to see it there. But we're going to see improved everything. We're going to see an interaction with the world, and it definitely gives me more of a Elder Scrolls type of vibe in very many ways, in that there will be factions, that there will be consequences to your choices, and I like that quite a bit, where they took a good game and they're building upon it, and not only building upon it, but basically making a new town. And that's going to be really interesting. Thankfully, you'll still be able to teleport to NPCs from the main screen to get a new quest or whatever. But if you want to, you could travel into the town, and the town has a lot more to offer. And quests will just be a lot more interesting, which is really important to me. I remember playing a few mods where quests were actually pretty involved, and I always thought they were very cool. I enjoy them. And I think companions will just really be cool to have too for those type of scenarios. And I'm glad that they've learned a lot and that they're taking their time with the game. And I'll go through a few of the screenshots too, just so that we can look at it and get a better idea about what they'll be putting into the game. But if we go look at number 1, we're looking at the Stygians defending from a massive charge. And you can see the amount of detail that's going into each battle. There's hundreds, potentially hundreds of soldiers on the battlefield right now. All the soldiers are doing different things, and you even have like one guy looking to the right on the bottom right. You have another one just kind of aimed downwards. I don't know, he should have killed a roach or something. I'm not too sure. But what really caught my eye too was the amount of detail given to all of the armor that they have here. I mean, you can just kind of see that a lot of love was put into what they're providing as the aesthetic for each individual faction. Then in our next one, we can look at archers with their long bows, and they're getting ready to notch a few arrows to fire away or to unleash. Because, I mean, they don't have gunpowder, they can't fire. But you get what I'm saying. You can look at the sword on his belt. You can look at the quiver behind him, and how he has one eye closed, aiming and getting ready to unleash. And that to me is just a huge amount of detail that I really appreciate, where I'm going to be able to fight these battles over and over and just really enjoy how much more lifelike they are. Then we have our more Mongolian Hunnic themed faction, and they're riding quickly on horseback. You can look at dust rising in the air, and they're getting ready to shoot from horseback, which has always been a very gratifying part of Mount & Blade, was being able to engage in horse archery. So I'm very glad to see that they're really improving upon that. And again, they all have their unique manners of using combat animations, which are going to be different based on how they're fighting. And that's going to allow for a lot of variety. And I know that many people have put in thousands of hours into Mount & Blade. I have too. I have over 8,000 on Mount & Blade just on Steam. And I've played it longer before I had it on Steam. So I'm going to have a lot more logged into Bannerlord. And let's go ahead and check out another one. In our next one, we're looking at blood on his armor. So that's really interesting too, that we now have a proper placement for blood. You're not just going to have stained clothing like red Kool-Aid or something. There will actually be blood splatters on your gear, on your blade. And that is definitely going to be interesting. I wonder how that will accumulate over time, if it does or not. But I'm glad to know that they'll be providing a lot of information on actual gameplay, but also these beautiful screenshots allow you to look at just the aesthetic part of it, just to really take in about like what they've put into the game. And then let's go ahead and look at another one over here featuring a town. You can see a lot more people interacting now, walking, doing their own things in town. You have a few people who look like they're talking. And so there's a lot more detail paid to towns, which I'm very happy about. I mean, they're meant to be a lot more important, not just a place to get your food and your troops, but to just really potentially develop a home in, to be able to have friends that you know, named NPCs that are part of your quote-unquote alliance. And so you're going to be able to do a lot more in towns, which is a really important part of Mount & Blade now. But yeah, I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of a time to look at each screenshot just to kind of enjoy it. I mean, we have another one here of a desert battle. You have guys looking a little bit happier than they should be. The guy on the right looks like he's had a merry old time. Looks a little bit well aged too. That could just be the sun damage. I don't know. You can see a few bodies on the desert. Probably in the background, I can't tell. Actually, this might be bushes. Maybe I'm blind. But you can see how like the heat is providing that type of effect to where it looks like they're a little bit glossy. They're a little bit illusory. And that's pretty cool too. So mounted combat's going to be a huge part. I mean, clearly it's called Mount & Blade, but I'm very glad to know that it won't be as clunky feeling, that it'll be a lot more dynamic in how each faction is able to fight depending on what weapons they use. But yeah, that is what we have right now. Definitely check out the screenshots and look forward to the PC Gamer article where you'll be able to read about it in greater detail. I definitely could extrapolate a lot more and go over a lot more, but I'm really kind of testing the waters here if all of you enjoy this sort of thing. If you do, I can definitely put together more detailed informational buckets of, you know, just vital info that you need to have about Bannerlord. So thank you for watching. Do leave a like down below and check out my channel if you haven't already.